Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Pacific Pokemon Podcast covering VGC and Doubles content. I'm Lindsay. This week I've dedicated to Grafaiai.
And I'm Bambi. And my Pokemon this week is gonna have to be Ursaluna. But I'm really curious as to why you want to go with Grafaiai because I get Prankster, but like, what's the tech you're running with it? Have you been playing a lot of Slacking too, or what?
Honestly, no slacking whatsoever. The Grafaiai team, I haven't had as much time to practice with it and actually fine-tune it down yet as I'd like to. However, the niche that it offers is basically built around Prankster Copycat, and the fact that Prankster Copycat also is able to copycat moves like Rain Dance and Tailwind from Tornadus, which is basically the most common Tailwind setter in the format right now. Grafaiai also is just a tiny bit slower and can utilize that. However, Grafaiai is also capable of countering Trick Room setters by using Priority Copycat the following turn before they can turn around and attack and whatnot, thus reversing the Trick Room as soon as it got set up, basically.
Does it get the -7 priority from when it does the Copycat Trick Room, or does it just happen whenever it goes to the turn order?
If you remember Sword and Shield meta, there was a short period in time where D-Max Hatterene Max Guard turn 1 with Prankster Liepard next to it was a bit of a thing.
That's right. I do
because
recall.
Copycat ignores speed priority when utilizing a move because it just goes based off of the speed priority of utilizing Copycat.
Because the
So
speed
yes,
has already
you get
happened, and
Trick
the
Room,
speed's already happened, so you get the Trick Room right away, basically.
and this
That's
works
really
perfectly
interesting.
against anything that doesn't run Protect for Trick Room setters, which is quite a few of them.
Well, I mean, who's running Protect when Urshifu is here?
Exactly, that too. So with Urshifu around and Trick Room setters generally don't run Protect anyway, it's a great Trick Room counter while also being able to copycat the Tailwind to basically have the same speed priority as your opponent in both Trick Room and non-Trick Room matchups. Ursaluna for you again. Still going with
Yeah,
the big bear.
Ursaluna. The like I'll say it a billion times. I've already said it at least 100. Ursaluna is the most well-designed Pokemon in the last decade.
It is a good design, both in terms of like artistic design as well as competitive stat distribution, move coverage, typing, ability. It has a lot of good things going for it.
I mean, it just really seems like Ursaluna was a Pokemon that they actually put thought behind.
Definitely. It seems like Ursaluna was the Pokemon that somebody came up with a long time ago and was really excited to finally have a chance to implement. That's what Ursaluna seems like, somebody's brainchild that they've been working on for too long. We also have the Arcanine event going on at the moment. I don't recall exactly which day that event ends. I believe it ends on the 3rd, which is Monday, so this event may be gone already by the time this podcast releases. But just in case it's not gone yet, go to your online and input the mystery gift code Paul EU1C W1N for Paul EUIC win. So this is Paul Chua's Arcanine. It's a shiny Arcanine as well in a Cherish Ball, which is a pretty cool thing. So pretty solid to go get. Also, it's a free fully EV trained or almost fully EV trained Arcanine. Apparently, it's not fully EV trained. Some people ran the calcs already. I just grabbed mine and put it in the box for now, and we'll return to it later. But
How did they catch all of these shiny Arcanines? Is what I want to know.
oh, this is probably Gend, but it's Pokemon Company officially released, so it's fine, right?
Is it? I guess.
But moving right in, we've got tons to talk about from NAIC. NAIC has been going on the last 2 days, and there's only the championship match left at the time of recording this. And we have so many things to cover. This tournament has been absolutely wild.
This is definitely a tournament that's going to go down the history books.
So many things happened.
I feel like this kind of comes down to the end of every season, but it's like everybody kind of feels like they're on the make or break for something. You know, they're like on the cusp of being able to reach whatever that next level is for them. You know, at the end of the season and really trying to push for that last bit. I think of an example is Colin Hire, like doing his best to hold on to his automatic day 2 and for Worlds.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think that makes such a big difference too. He's been such a good player this whole season, and he barely bubbled out in this event.
This bubble was like the housing market in 2005.
The top 2 players currently going into the finals of this tournament, we're looking at Alex Gomez and Ragav Malavia going into the finals of this event, and they both came into the top 8 at 11-3, while the other 6 in top 8 finished 12-2. So it's a little bit of an upset, definitely. But obviously they're definitely still fantastic players. However, both of them are also not from the United States. So NAIC
going once, going twice, not going to America.
We've got Alex Gomez representing the Spanish side and Ragav Malavia representing India. Both of the top players for NAIC coming from different parts of the world. I think that's actually really fantastic, though, at the same time. I think that's really cool.
I do think that's really cool, too. And these players had to go up against some big names to get to where they're at the end of the day, too.
Absolutely.
Alex had to go up against Chupacross the Fourth. And Ragav had to go against Joe UX9.
Going up against Joseph Ugarte and Marco Silva, both longtime tournament winners.
Marco Fierro, yeah, the man himself.
These people have been around for a long time. So it's really impressive to come into a tournament and be 11-3 in the Swiss rounds and then end up winning all the way up to the top of the championship.
Marco Silva was he did the best out of everybody in day 2.
Yeah, Marco Silva was top of day 2 altogether.
Only to be knocked out in top 8 round 1. Man, same with Chupacross. He was
and it was a
decisive
for that bubble. Battle.
That was it. Yeah, it was crazy.
Ragav versus Marco Silva was a very decisive battle as well. So very impressive turnaround by Ragav, getting into the top 8 and then turning it around to beat the number 1 seed immediately. Take a look at that match specifically here. Ragav Malavia versus Marco Silva. Ragav's team, he was running the Palafin's Rain Core with Palafin, Pelipper, Arcanine, Amoonguss, Fluttermane, and Iron Hands. Going up against Marco Silva with the Chi-Yu Fluttermane offensive core, with the Amoonguss, the Gyarados Iron Hands, and Garchomp to round it out. Garchomp being one of the few to make it into the top 8 there. Actually, I think the only Garchomp to make it in... Nope. Chuppa also brought Garchomp into top 8. That's right.
Yeah, Marco and I and Rexy were running almost the exact same 6. The only difference between our teams were I was running Great Tusk instead of Garchomp and Murkrow instead of Hands. So he kind of takes a little bit more of a balanced approach in his team versus I go for a weather offense. I think if his team had the option for weather, it wouldn't have been so dominated by the rain.
But Ragav piloted the Palafin to a very good position overall. One of the 2 Palafin players.
Oh my goodness. The Pelipper put in work throughout top 8.
Pelipper definitely did. People do tend to forget how much damage Pelipper can do, as well as how much effect it has with Wide Guard. The damage output of Hurricane is quite impressive, and Hydro Pump also can hit pretty hard.
Well, I mean, and the thing is you're getting a rain boost from your Hydro Pump every time, just about. So when you're rolling for that kind of like extra large damage, even from not a high special attacking stat, it's usually like it. I mean, for Pelipper, I don't think it's ever run anything without Hydro Pump in this generation. I don't think
Yeah, it
there's been
used
a
to run
set.
Scald in previous generations,
I
but
I mean, like we talk about like how much we like have discrepancies in rolls on hydro pumps like with bundle, but I mean when it comes to Pelipper, it's not even a question that's just it's just a better option to make that risk.
absolutely, and that's why people still run it on bundle as well. It's just the best option currently. On the subject of Scald, there have been rumors of it coming back in DLC potentially, so we might have something to hope
Um,
for there. But I don't want to get anybody's hopes up.
I I really don't want Scald to come back.
Even
I
if they
would
nerf
I
the burn chance, I think it would be
even if
great.
even if they nerf the burn chance. See, the thing that rubs me the wrong way about Scald literally is that it's a water type move that is doing a fire type thing.
So get rid of the
And
burn chance completely and make it a 20% chance to lower attack, and that's perfectly fine. Who cares?
or
Even get rid of
speed
the
even.
special effect altogether. But specifically, what the player base realistically needs is a special water type move that's reliable.
Yeah, we just need a water type move that doesn't miss and
Because
isn't
Muddy Water is
physical.
90%, Hydro Pump is 80%, and Surf hits your partner. So none of
And
those special attacks are all that viable. Chilling Water is way too weak. Water Pulse is a base of 60. I
yeah,
mean,
nobody's cooking with water pulse except for you.
even then, it was just a gimmick strategy for the sake of it, because it was better damage to get 2 Water Pulses than 1 Hydro Pump miss and 1 Hydro Pump connect. You get 10 more base power
It's true.
in the end. That was the entire reason why I went with the Water Pulse. But going
I mean,
back onto the weather subject, I
yeah.
really want to discuss Joe versus Judy. Joe Ugarte versus Judy Azzarelli. This matchup in the top 8 was unbelievable.
This was easily the biggest struggles Torkel has had this entire season. I I never thought I'd see the day where I saw Joe click Fissure to try and get himself back into it. You know what I mean? Like, can you imagine being at that high of a level, but because of the way the game state shook out, you've been backed into that corner to
And
where
on turn 2, where
on turn
literally if you
two,
don't get
you're
the fissure,
already clicking the oh shoot button, you know? Like, oh my gosh, like what do we do? What do you do in that situation? You hope you hope you connect and you hope you connect you get a you live on one and connect again with a with a bad read from them or something like that. I don't know. Like it was just it was really heartbreaking for me because I've really become a big Joe UX9 fan
that's
this year.
he's a great player, absolutely. And Portland being close to your hometown, I understand. You have that close association of
Yeah,
Portland
he's our
champion.
boy. He's our boy.
Um, and twice regional champion of Portland as well, too. Not just this
Hmm.
year. But that match was unbelievable. To see a match in the absolute top cut come down in 2 turns to a forfeit on turn 3. I don't think
Oh
I've
man,
seen a match that fast ever
is there? I've played matches that fast that weren't rage quits.
at
Like
this level of play,
what?
though.
What? It's like I what could I do? And like in that situation, and I'm thinking to myself, there's nothing I could. There's nothing I could do. Oh, there's the forfeit. I mean, I guess there wasn't anything to be done.
No, not in the slightest. I mean, it just the match played out completely against him. From turn 1, he tried to adapt, and his lead was countered pretty well by Judy.
Hmm.
The big thing that I don't remember. I don't recall if it was noted in match 1. I don't believe Judy brought the Fluttermane match 1. However, the fact that Judy's Fluttermane was plus speed and Joe's Fluttermane was plus special attack made a
The
big
speed one
difference
wins without the
in
tailwind.
terms of the amount of damage output that Fluttermane was able to do, giving it the capability to get that big one-hit KO on Joe's Fluttermane with just the Terra Moonblast. That honestly made such a huge difference. And I'm sure Judy knew that going into that matchup specifically as well.
Mm-hmm.
However,
This was
fake
probably the
out
best.
too.
Yeah.
The turn 1 fake out with the Iron Hands into the terastallized pure fairy type Fluttermane. Talk about knowing your matchup down to a T.
Mm-hmm. You're
What
not
a
even making
game.
reads. You're just running the turns you've made 100 times already.
What an incredible game at that point. I mean, absolutely phenomenal performance from Judy Azzarelli to be able to pull that off. And especially considering that this is Joe's longtime practiced and perfected team at this point.
Yeah, oh my gosh. Do you think we're gonna actually be able to see his spreads now?
Possibly. Obviously he's still making it into Worlds, so not necessarily. He has his day 2 invite, so he may bring something along this line, or some of these Pokemon may show up on his Worlds team, possibly that King Gambit that he's been showing so much love through this whole season as well, specifically. So I don't know that we'll get to see the full spreads just yet. We'll see.
All I'm saying is, if there's a dollar amount that I can pay for those spreads from him, I probably will, just to see what he was cooking.
You know, I'm sure you might be able to convince him in some business proposal, but
Yeah, it's so true. When it comes to Pokemon and like that, it's just business, man. It's just business.
that kind of
Nothing
stuff
wrong with
happens,
that.
and a lot of these people are coaches and whatnot too. They offer coaching. Not
That's true.
uncommon for them to take
Joe's got his
money
own
for
academy.
Pokemon related kind of things. It is what it is there. Going over some of the rest of the top teams, though, Justin Knox also brought in a very interesting team here featuring the Iron Moth, an extremely bulky Goldengo, alongside Grimmsnarl for Stains. Those matches were some very interesting matches. He appeared on stream both in Swiss Round 14 and in the Top Cut in Top 8. Did you get a chance to watch either of those matches?
I got to see a little bit of the Justin Knox match. Basically, from what I recall of it, is like, I mean, I'm gonna be honest. When I see the word balance on a team, I kind of check out a little bit. But so like the plays I noticed the most were Justin's team, and um, the combination of Iron Hands being able to set up the Grimmsnarl or the Moth to get things prepped up for Fluttermane or Golden Go was honestly a beautiful thing to watch Gyarados pivot through. And I don't remember if his hands had Volt Switch or not either, too.
I don't recall off the top of my head. I do know for sure that Grimmsnarl was definitely very key to his strategy. His entire team seemed very focused around having it that reflect up against a lot of these physical attackers, or having light screen when he found himself in that super special matchup.
And the team he's working with here is pretty good on the special side. I mean, you got Gyarados, which I think is base 100 special defense. You got Fluttermane with 135. You got Iron Moth sitting in there, I think, in the 120s.
I believe Iron Moth is base 110.
Is it 110? Okay.
I believe so. An Iron Hands
and then,
Assault Vest.
Yeah, Assault Vest, Iron Hands. Iron Hands still not carrying.
And that Golden
But
Go was very bulky too. The Golden Go on that team
I
was
was
definitely
really
very
surprised to
bulky.
see Golden Go basically just be a tank.
Clearly, though, the team was also very built around requiring that Golden Go to go for the nasty plots before actually trying to dish out damage. And you
You
could
know,
tell
for
in watching his play that he definitely knew he needed to get nasty plots up to be able to actually dish out any damage to his opponents well.
and that's kind of where the good pivoting comes in. Do you recall if Grimmsnarl had parting shot?
I don't believe I saw Parting Shot on there. I definitely saw the Reflect. I believe it was Reflect, Light Screen, Thunderwave, and
That
Spirit
was one
Break.
thing I kind of noticed about this tournament overall is pivot moves like U-turn, Volt Switch. Not really a thing that you would see very often at all. It's just Rexy just in general. Really just a meta with lots of hard swaps, not a lot of chip damage and pivots.
Yeah, Volt Switch definitely showed up on quite a few of the Iron Hands in the overall streamed matches, of course. But Iron Hands also being one of the most common Pokemon in the entire format, it's of no surprise there. Iron Hands
Well, how
was
many teams in top 8 had Iron Hands?
almost all of them.
Was Joe the only one?
Joe and Chuppa.
Joe and Chippercross were the only ones. Wow, that's
Those are the only people in top 8. That's a
Iron
75%
Iron
usage
Hands
in
is a
top 8.
Pokemon. We brought it up last week, but Iron Hands is a Pokemon that's here to stay.
Absolutely. I think people have finally started to really catch on the fact that Iron Hands is incredibly useful with its slower fake out overall, and also the fact for a slow Volt Switch. You can run max special
Mm-hmm.
defense, max attack, and afford to really just sponge hits, or even run max defense, max special defense, and completely just ignore damage. Just sitting on the field for so long, dishing out constant drain punches and wild charges and thunder punches. It's a solid Pokemon.
And in Regulation D, options for setting up are only going to get better.
Absolutely. Iron Hands, I think, is currently very outshadowed in Reg D by Urshifu. However, I do think Iron Hands is going to find its niche again here soon enough, especially as people start looking back towards the things that they're already familiar with. Right now, everybody's just kind of experimenting with all of the new, you know?
Yeah, and Iron Hands is gonna. I mean, like we're gonna. You might see it, not see it every single day on ladder, but the thing is, with Iron Hands, what Urshifu doesn't get to do is live hits from Flutter Mane, or just even live non-stab boosted, like like fairy moves for Urshifu, Dershifu. You know.
True, true.
Yeah, there's a reason why I run Roselli Berry on my Dershifu,
Yeah, on a
and
Dark
that's
Urshifu, you definitely could use Roselli Berry. Very helpful in making sure that you don't get just deleted from the field.
yep. Because even after I Terra Dark, I still am gonna need to not take a huge Moonblast or Dazzling Gleam. It's almost always a Dazzling Gleam, though. I noticed that nobody ever clicks Moonblast into Dark Urshifu.
That's
So maybe
understandable. Usually
maybe the
it's not
tech.
too
Maybe I need to
bulky,
pull out
so
some wide guard tech with my Urshifu.
that's a reasonable concept. Wide Guard is also still a really solid move, especially when you use it correctly.
Yeah.
Going back to
Uh,
Justin Knox's team, one more thing I wanted to bring up. I forgot about this for a minute, but his Goldengo dodged like 5 hits that are all 90% accurate on stream. It dodged 2 Ruinations and a Sand Tomb at least in Swiss round 14, and then it pulled out another Ruination dodge in top 8. Like, what is that Goldengo running on?
this Goldango is good as gold. That's what I'm gonna tell you. It,
Truly, this Goldengo was the legitimately good as Goldengo.
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to start seeing Bright Powder Goldango after this, just to see people trying to relive the glory of this Goldango's match.
No kidding. And this guy was running leftovers for the bulky recovery as well, so A very impressive performance, all in all, there. Alex Gomez also bringing the Dondozo without the Tatsugiri. An interesting strategy that ended up bringing him so far into the finals. So we'll see exactly where he ends up, whether he ends
This
up
was
as the
not the
champion or
only.
not.
This was not the only solo dozo. If I recall,
No, it is the only one in Top Cut, but it was
it's the
not
only
the
one
only
top
one.
cut. Yeah, it's not the only one to note from the tournament overall. And
No.
I've been saying ever since I saw that it got unaware, I just knew that Dozo was always destined to dump the Tatsu. No pun intended. Because
Yeah,
it eats it.
Dozo definitely just is able to do very well.
it
Even on
can
its own. It does not need
it
Tatsugiri.
it doesn't need offensive pressure to still exert pressure. It's still a great wall, and it can still punch out Yawn to make things swap out. And this way, you can actually pivot with it too. You're not locked into a dozo mode.
Yeah, Dozo's actually fantastic with Yawn, and it does work very well being able to switch it out and switch it back in at later times.
Now, this unaware, is it unaffected by the ruined abilities?
I don't believe, because that is technically not a stat change.
It okay.
So
It
it's
has
not like
and
a
for the
+1 -1,
and for
which
the
is what
ruinous
unaware.
abilities, I think the way it works is like you have to have the ability that matches up, right? For it to not affect you. Like you have to have beads of ruin
Mm-hmm.
on your side of the field to not be affected by an opposing beads of ruin.
You have
And only for that
even then the
Pokemon,
beads of,
right?
yeah, it's only for
Like
the
Chiyu
ruinous.
can't affect the Chiyu.
Mm-hmm. So Chiyu's ability doesn't affect an opposing Chiyu either. However,
They do
it
stack on the partner Pokemon.
yep. I don't believe it stacks.
It doesn't stack?
I don't believe so, but I'm not 100% certain on that. So yeah, I believe the ability activates once for the field. It's like a field effect almost, more similar
Mm-hmm.
to Galarian Wheezing and the ability canceling ability that it has. I forget what it's called.
Mold Breaker?
No, because Galarian Wheezing has that unique
Oh,
ability.
Galarian Wheezing. It
Yeah,
has the what's it called? Like alchemy
that's
or something like that, right?
Alolan Muck.
Um, wait, we're talking about Wheezing?
Galarian Wheezing. Its
Galarian
unique
Wheezing,
ability,
it gets, I don't remember. It's like something chimney, maybe? I don't know.
neutralizing gas.
Oh,
That's
neutralizing
what it's
gas.
called.
Regular Wheezing gets that too.
No, does it?
I'm pretty sure it gets it.
No, it does now. Neat. I thought that was just for Galarian Wheezing, but I guess it's for all Wheezing. Okay. Either way, Weezing's newer ability from Sword Shield, the neutralizing gas that nullifies abilities. I think the Beads of Ruin and Swords of Ruin, etc., I believe those abilities work very similarly to that, where while the Pokemon is on the field, it's just an effect that is blanket applied to all Pokemon on the field, other than the one who has that ability. And then by default,
Okay.
it's just not applied whenever that Pokemon isn't present on the field. But I don't think it can stack on top of itself. So you could have Swords of Ruin and Beads of Ruin active, of course. Getting back to NAIC a bit here, I want to go over some of the other teams that made it into the day 2 side of things, at least.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically, I want to cover a couple of teams. Michael Zhang's team, Carson Confer's, also the exact same team that Wolfie brought. So let's start off with Michael Zhang's team here, bringing the Tyranitar and the Baxcalibur, along with the classic core of Fluttermane, Amoonguss, Arcanine, and an Iron Bundle as the Water-type Pokemon.
So with this team, I see Fire, Water, Grass, plus the 2 fastest special attackers, enabled by pseudo-legendary. Basically the only 2 pseudo-legendaries that are viable right now. or that we even have access to, like of the three that are viable right now that we have.
What are you talking about? You're tripping there. Garchomp also is a pseudo legendary, made it into top cut. We're also looking at
Oh, I
Dragapult
am
in top
totally
cut, and
tripping.
Dragonite is a fantastic partner for Chen
I was
Pao and
thinking
has
about
always been.
Dragonite, but
All of those are top
Draga
cutters.
Dragapult's a niche pick in my opinion.
However, Alex Gomez brought it to the finals.
It's true.
Dragapult might be winning yet another championship this generation. Terra
It
and
works.
Choice
It
Band on
works
it is
because water
really
main's
good.
on 70% of teams.
This is true. Definitely a big part of that.
So I mean, it's less of a niche and more of a meta call.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean,
Dragapult is still good.
I don't respect it because it's not well rounded in my opinion anymore. I think,
Well, I think
it lost quite a bit of access to utility that it really needed. Like specifically Ally Switch. Like it really did need Ally Switch to be able to live through Gigantamax meta. But like I think it still really needs it.
I don't think it needs Ally Switch anywhere near as much as it did.
Well, not new Ally Switch though. You can't spam it anymore.
Either way, I think Dragapult does very well in this meta, specifically because it gets access to Clear Body to save it from Iron Bundle and speed control there, and also to save it from attack drops from Intimidate. Intimidate is really common in the meta right now, either between Gyarados or Arcanine. One of those is on almost every team.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest reasons for that is just it's super reliable damage control. Right now, there are very few Pokemon that have access to like a clear body ability. I mean, I guess there's more bonus points for Dragapult right there.
Exactly.
It's huge, just control for damage mitigation. Like you're getting yourself halfway there to screens, and if it's on the last two Pokemon, it lasts forever.
Absolutely. Yeah, Clear Body makes a huge difference as an ability for Dragapult, giving it the immunity to Intimidate, saving it from losing its damage output. So you can slap a Choice Band on it, put it next to Chen Pao, and that dragon is going to do a lot of damage. Ghost coverage is also really solid into a lot of the meta currently. And you pair that alongside Chen Pao with Sword of Ruin, and you've got coverage for about one of the only things that really resists Ghost.
Mm-hmm. And I think
Actually,
Dragapult I think is going to potentially do better in Reg D. I think it's super unexplored in Regulation D right now.
I completely agree. Yeah. But moving back to Michael Zhang's team, the Baxcalibur and the Tyranitar, a really interesting concept there overall.
Yeah.
Nobody else brought them even into day 2 whatsoever, and I don't think hardly anybody else that was streamed even brought either of those Pokemon, and they definitely didn't
these
show
are
up in
the
the
only
top.
two showings that we really seen of them for this tournament too. I don't really recall seeing any Baxcalibur or any Tyranitar outside of this one. And
very interesting team.
And what a huge change up that is, because I remember like in Portland we got to see Tyranitar and Sand pop off pretty big.
True, it was definitely fairly common in Portland. The T-Tar Lycanroc was doing a lot of stuff back in Portland. I think people got tired of missing their rock slides. So
bunch of quitters.
Can you blame them though?
I don't know. I'm a Tyranitar believer.
It's not that I don't believe in the Pokemon, it's that I don't believe in the move.
Well, I think it's always better. I think it's always better to plan on hitting those moves and then worrying about it afterwards.
True, but eventually you get to a point where you just have to run something a little bit more consistent and not worry about relying on missing moves.
Hear me out. What if rock types got a Scald essentially? But
they need a physical Scald. I completely agree.
They need a physical Scald
They have
that
Power Gem.
gives like a 10% or a 20% chance to paralyze too.
That would be pretty niche, but also really good. That would make Tyranitar fantastic. That would also bring Organical way up into the meta. I like this idea.
I hope I didn't just ruin the game for a bunch of people by putting the idea of paraflinching spam into their head that much. But
I mean, hey, as long as Rock Slide still misses.
But hey, it'd be a cool tech that ice types wouldn't be able to have access to.
And
because
ice is like the only.
Ice and Dark are the only other two types that have access to flinching secondary abilities, I think. Outside of like Fake Out.
Waterfall. Extra Sensory.
Waterfall. Extra Sensory is a move?
Mm-hmm. Extra Sensory, the psychic type attack, has a flinch chance, 20%. There's flinch chance on a lot of different type moves, actually.
Oh, I didn't realize there were that many
Iron Head,
that flinches.
Air Slash.
Okay, I knew Air Slash because of Togekiss.
Yeah. Flinching is fairly common, surprisingly enough.
I always think of it as like a rock type thing. There's also normal type
moves that do it too.
Really? Besides Fake Out?
Mm-hmm. Headbutt, that's the one.
Oh, okay.
Headbutt has a 20% flinch chance. There's a lot of moves that flinch. They're just not competitive moves, generally speaking. Dark Pulse and Rock Slide are the most competitive moves, like alongside Air Slash. Thing.
Like Tyranitar is like a Pokemon that will flinch you.
Mm-hmm. Tyranitar's always been known for it because Rock Slide is its signature stab move, basically. When you line up those pieces, it kind of makes sense that it just fits Tyranitar there, you know?
Mm-hmm. Like, if you're not going to give them boosted accuracy in the sand, give them something else.
I mean, it does still get the special defense boost in the sand, which I think is really helpful.
But nothing else?
That's still solid, though. Like, that is worth something, definitely. But moving on to Carson Confer's team over here.
I've been waiting to talk about this team. Oh my gosh. So this team is super duper cool because it kind of takes that backseat play style of Paris Trap and turns it into a guaranteed way to get into your Dozo sweep. Wolf used it to some pretty good success with Terra Steel on the Flamigo too, by getting into that for a backline.
Oh, so the strat here is you lead the Tatsugiri and the Screamtail, and you Perish Song your own Tatsugiri.
So
then you switch the Screamtail into the Dondozo, and the Tatsugiri goes into Dondozo's mouth. Then the Tatsugiri dies while inside Dondozo's mouth. You bring out this Flamigo. The Flamigo copies Dondozo's stat boosts, and suddenly you have two Pokemon with an Omni-boosted +2 on the field. It's very strong when executed well.
And just in case you have like 3 Pokemon left on the field by this point, you don't get a switch because Gothitel's probably right there.
Potentially, yeah. Gothitelle or the
Flamigo. Or
actually, no, it's all 4 of them. It's Screamtail, Tatsugiri, Dondozo, and Flamigo. Wrong?
I'm really bad at counting.
That's the 4. However, it does also leave the opportunity to bring Screamtail Tatsugiri, Dondozo, and Gothitelle instead of the Flamigo, and have Perish Trap be an option from the very beginning. You know,
I think
the Flamigo strat and go straight for
powerful. Yeah, just how powerful Gothitelle and Screamtail can be, right? I mean, that's like I think I used that against you in Portland, didn't I?
Absolutely. That was the team you brought to Portland, and that definitely kicked my butt. I was not quite as prepared to see Perish Trap in the new version of what it is.
Yeah, and this is kind of like a Perish Trap that takes a more of a gimmick approach because it's kind of like not. I say gimmick as in like it's more of like a technique approach. Because I mean, just to be able to get into the Dozo, you're thinking so many turns ahead to get into that game state. And one of the things about Perish, how it gets you there is it actually gets you there really consistently because you're gonna always get that 3-turn countdown. You're not going to have to worry about your opponent like taking out your Tatsugiri at the wrong time. Like you're still going to have a lot of options. And if there's one thing that this tournament really showed us is that Dozo doesn't need Tatsu to perform. I think is it base 30 speed or base 50 for Dozo?
I believe it's base 30 or 35 speed. Yeah,
35 sounds right.
in that range.
And one of the things about that is basically the only thing that you're ever worried about with Don Dozo. You can bring like a Screamtail Gothitelle lead with Don Dozo and Tinglu in the back. And because those two Pokemon are at some of the lowest speed tiers in the game, the only two Pokemon in Regulation C that you have to worry about Perish Trap endgame with, potentially backfiring, is an Amoonguss or a Torkoal, basically.
Very true. I don't believe this team was running Trick Room, surprisingly enough, at all either.
It's because Gothitelle runs into 4-move syndrome.
Indeed. They were running Heal Pulse. Heal Pulse protects Psychic and Fake Out.
I just don't like Heal Pulse on Gothitelle. I think it would have been better in this situation to go Trick Room, just to be able to have the option for a Tinglu end game.
Yeah, I think the Tinglu is generally designed to be brought out first, I guess, in this team and facilitate stalling, because they were also running Sand Tomb on the Tinglu.
Oh, that's right. So
Strangely enough, to lock in Pokemon like Fluttermane, with those Perish songs even.
Oh, that's nasty. Oh man.
Indeed. I look forward to some strats like that potentially coming out with Heatran in Regulation D, with Fire Spin or Magma Storm, Wide Lens Magma Storm.
I've been looking into using Wide Lens Magma Storm next to Screamtail.
That could be a really interesting strategy, all in all. You know,
I like Screamtail as a Perish Trap user because it comes with really good control options.
It does
versus
indeed.
Fluttermane
Encore, disable,
as a Perish Song user only has really offensive options.
Fluttermane, although, does work really well in that scenario when you need the offense specifically.
Oh, and that's why I ran Flutter Chi-Yu on mine.
Different team, different style, different type of offense, but both are very effective at what they do. Either way, I am super excited to find out who is going to win NAIC tomorrow.
Everybody listening at home is already going to know, so this is just our thoughts and predictions.
But we're looking at Ragav Malavia versus Alex Gomez Berna. Who do you think is going to win this?
Ooh, I think that this is going to be a win for India.
You think Palafin and Pelipper are going to win NAIC just like they won EUIC? Or I think that was that EUIC or OCIC?
I think so.
It's Dragapult Chien-Pao versus Pelipper Palafin, and then Bulky Balance Core with Iron Hands, Fluttermane, and 2 others.
Man, this is going to be a really tough matchup because a well-placed Amoonguss can run into Alex's team.
This is true. I think the Amoonguss is actually one of the things that Alex needs to be most scared of going into this final match. His Iron Hands, I believe, is Terra Grass to assist against the Amoonguss, of course, but even then, just the Iron Hands is not usually enough to be able to handle that. I don't recall if his Tinglu was the one that I saw during all of the stream that was a Lumberry Tinglu. Either way, both teams, I think, are really interesting here. The fact that Dragapult made it into the top, and then Palafin is making it back into the top. No matter who wins this, we're going to have a really interesting finale on our hands.
Yeah, I mean, Palafin is just good. I mean, I think it's just kind of gone through ups and downs just because of how good it is. and it actually is good. And in order for it to be as good as it is, it has to leave itself open to counterplay.
Indeed,
So
indeed.
that's kind of what we've seen shake out from it, is just that. It's just exactly that. I mean, you just haven't been able to see a consistent Palafin play because we haven't seen things that really enable that free swap. I really want to see what Palafin can do without weather in Regulation D.
I guess we'll find out as the regulation expands. On the subject of Regulation D, congratulations, everyone. It started up today, on day of
Yay!
recording at least. The Regulation D cart ladder is officially open. Feel free to go collect your rewards from the final month of Regulation C cart ladder and dive right into Regulation D. I'm still trying to finish up my first team here, but I'm not too far out from jumping in myself. We do have a couple of other details we want to bring up today. We forgot about our random calc of the week last week, unfortunately, so we're gonna definitely drop in some random calcs this week. This week we've got calcs dropped in by Fonzie in our Discord, a good friend of ours that we spent a good time hanging out with at Fresno. Correlating to Urshifu, definitely one of the most dominant Pokemon coming out in Regulation D. So these calcs are definitely useful to any players going into Regulation D. So we're looking at two sides of this coin. The coin on offense versus the Urshifu. We've got 116 special attack, choice specs, Fluttermane. Dazzling Gleam is always a guaranteed OHKO on Urshifu. No matter what you're looking at there, just a specs dazzle. Gonna KO every time.
You're looking at less than half investment in stats with a modest nature.
Modest nature,
and
116.
Is this Urshifu or water Urshifu?
Rapid. This is what Urshifu.
This is for rapid. Wow.
Rapid strike, yep. Not super bulky Pokemon Urshifu, so
no,
definitely something to keep in
not.
mind there. And Fluttermane is a great offensive choice to it. So Fluttermane is still a very good counter to Urshifu. However, Urshifu on the other side here, 44 HP and a 4 defense is enough on Urshifu to survive max attack, adamant choice band, Terra Normal Dragonite Extreme Speed when it's paired next to the Qianpao. So that's actually a really solid calc to have on your Urshifu spreads, potentially.
Yeah, you know what
providing it a
doesn't live
very
that?
good matchup into that
Chi-Yu
Dragonite
Fluttermane.
Qianpao.
Yeah, Chi-Yu Fluttermane can't stand that, but this Urshifu can.
Yeah. So, 44 HP and 4 defense is enough investment for Urshifu to be able to hold on through that Terra Normal Extreme Speed. Granted, that does require you to be max HP, or full HP, I mean, at the time.
Man, that's kind of crazy. Can you imagine trying to roll for like literally a 1 on your HP bar? Like trying to calc for a focus sash, theoretically.
Oh, we do that all the time.
I
Those are
don't
my
know. I feel
defensive
like
calcs.
that's risky business.
No, you build around your defensive calcs. You calc to survive something at 1 intentionally.
Well, maybe there's our difference. I don't build around defense.
Either way, you still have to keep it into account, you know? Both
That's
sides
true.
are very important. You want to make sure that you're able to survive the hits that you need to survive, like a Palafin Jet Punch or something like that.
Yeah, you
you're
gotta
able
pull
to
up the calculator. You can't run on Smogon forever.
Knowing your matchups really, really well in those VGC formats, especially that best of 3, once you're looking in something like Open Team, have those numbers in the back of your mind, knowing guaranteed that you're gonna survive that hit. Puts a lot less stress on you in the moment. And I think that definitely is something that helps with performing better at large scale in-person events.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
But definitely everybody listening, join our Discord, drop us some of those calcs that you guys are doing, especially as Regulation D is kicking off right now. Give us some of those Regulation D calcs you guys run. Anything interesting you're finding out there. Some of those calcs that you're looking at and you're like, this is different or this does so much damage. Doesn't matter. Toss it in there. We'd love to see.
Yeah, please give me more reasons to run Landorus Incarnate.
All right, run Landorus Incarnate calcs. There you go. That's a Pokemon to calc for. Boom. Also, when you're in the Discord, drop by some rental codes for us to use. We're getting started on dropping videos this upcoming week, so definitely give us some of those rental codes for cartridge teams. That way we can hop into the cartridge games, give you guys a great experience, and make some fun battles out of it.
And if you don't have a rental code, you can also, and you're just kind of trying to figure out a team for on Showdown, you can also share your team in that same channel, or you can even come to our team builder channel and talk with a bunch of people and get things figured out. We all like to help each other and get better all together, so it's a good time.
Indeed, indeed. Great community growing so far. Really looking forward to seeing how many great additional people we can add in.
Really quick before we go, though, I just want to give a quick shout out and good luck to Olivia Sama, who's going to be competing in a side event tomorrow with a team that I built. And Olivia Sama actually shared the team at dinner with a couple other YouTubers like Lord MV and Numb Nexus, who are a couple people I've been a huge fan of their work on their channels for years now. So kind of cool, and I hope they both do really well tomorrow at their side event, even though they won't be hearing this as soon as till Monday.
Good luck to them. It's pretty awesome to hear that that team is going a little bit public in some manner, going a little bit viral or whatnot, you know, what have you.
I took it to peak of Reg D ladder in its opening days to top 50. I think I peaked out at like 1456, I think, is where I peaked out right before weekend of Fresno. And I have I don't have a rental code for it yet. There will be one.
When you make a video on it.
Yeah. There's definitely going to be a Pokepaste, though, in the Discord.
Fair enough. Yeah, try it out in Showdown. Copy paste that Pokepaste whenever you feel like it. Try it out in Showdown, and that's going to be that. Thank you all so much for coming out and listening to our 3rd episode of the podcast. Look forward to getting some better visuals coming for you guys next week here, hopefully, on the podcast, and we're looking forward to getting those videos put out too. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.